is Drink Talk, where we try to solve the world's problems one drink at a time. Each episode in this podcast, we talk about the topics of yesterday, today, and tomorrow while reviewing and enjoying beer, spirits, and wine from around the world and crafted locally. So grab your drink, raise your glass, and join us. We are your hosts, Brian and Britt. Cheers.
Check us out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another wonderful podcast of Drink Talk. We're here at Pint 9. We're sitting here with Jim. And Jim, why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Well, personally, I started brewing a number of years ago. Ruined a kitchen, ruined a garage. Decided I couldn't learn anything else on my own, so I attended the University of California at Davis. I sat for the Master Brewer's exam out of, 2009. I sat for the International Brewing and Distilling exam out of London in that same year. Came back. I worked at Upstream for a couple years, Empyrean for a couple years, back to Upstream while we were putting together the idea for Pint 9, and we started June 17th, 2017.
Awesome. And that's right here at this location right here.
Yes, sir.
2017. Now, where you guys are located, what's this street so people can get here if they've never been here before?
Absolutely. No, we're just south of 108th and Giles. We're 104th and Portal. Actually, if you go south on 108th, it turns in east and turns into Portal. We're kind of in a fermentation district down here. 2.5, 3 miles from where we're sitting, we have Lucky Bucket, Infusion, Nebraska Brewing Company, Cut Spike Distillery, Patriarch Distillery. We share a wall with Cross Strain Brewing Company, so we kind of have a fermentation district, and between Cross Strain and us, we kind of have our own little destination where you really don't have to do much except walk or stumble.
Yeah, you guys got a great location
so
out here in Papillion. So
yeah, it works great.
Well, let's start on our first beer here.
First one is Jalopy Joyride. It's a rye pilsner.
Little air clinkies. How about we do that? Well, with the Corona going on, you know. Ooh, a Pils. I like that. And what's the name of this one called?
Jalopy Joyride.
Jalopy Joyride. There we go. 5.4 ABV. IBU is 40. This is great. This is a light, easy drinker. If somebody wants to come out and try their beer and they're like, oh, I'm a Bud Light fan, this would be, I mean, it's not Bud Light. Let's not say that.
It's not.
It's not that, but this is a nice, smooth, easy beer.
Oh, I appreciate it. No, we always try to have a couple that are lighter lagers if we can. They're easy gets for a lot of people who aren't familiar with a lot of the craft beer out there or even traditional beer. So it's nice to give everybody a little bit of something that they're familiar with and kind of put our own spin on it. This one we use a yeast strain that's it's not the main yeast, but it's one of the yeast strains that Pilsner Urquell uses.
Sure.
So it has a note that everybody is kind of familiar with anyway. And then we just we threw a bunch of rye malt at it because we're big fans of rye, and it definitely gives it a little of a dirtier backing, something a little more not so straightforward.
No, this is good. Is this something that's typically on tap always, or is this kind of a rotating thing?
This one is an actual rotating, but we do a lot of, we do a rice lager. Well, essentially, it's a Mexican lager that has rice and rye, which is always around. But we usually have at least one light lager besides rice that's around. So.
Nice.
And we're big fans of lagers in general, so I think right now we got a Bock, a Doppelbock, we got rice, we got the Pilsner. There may actually be one more up there even. No, that's it.
So what I've seen in the past year, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys now have cans that I can find at the grocery store, the supermarket, the gas station, all that stuff. That's awesome that you guys have made that transition into doing that. And that was just in the past year?
Yeah, I believe it was August, so it was probably about 8 months ago.
Okay.
It's been everything we wanted it to be, but it was always in the plan from the beginning. It was just one of those things where we didn't start with package. We decided it was going to be more of a build-up for us to try to get draft products out there and push our name out there kind of organically, grassroots, and see what we could do. And then along the way, we decided it's probably time to get package out there. and we had always really wanted cans over bottles. They're just a superior package. You know, no light gets in, no oxygen gets in, no CO2 gets out. They're hermetically sealed to a certain extent. And we had decided a long time ago that 16-ounce cans were what we wanted to have. Four packs of 16-ounce instead
Absolutely.
of the 6 packs of 12. It just seemed, I don't know, it seemed better for the product we were pushing. But there's just something about having a 16-ounce can in your hand also, which is nice.
I'd rather do the 16. So your guys' facility out here, this is your only location. You don't have any other locations. So you're doing all of the work at this location. Are you distributing just Omaha, or do you guys have surrounding areas that you guys are distributing to?
No, you're right. Everything we do here. We got about, our patio's about 1,000 square feet now that it's been extended. Our tap room's about around the same. And then the other 6,500 square feet of the facility is actually for production. So that's where our brewing system, all of our tanks, our canning line, our cooler, the boiler, everything is back there. And we do everything out of one place. I'm sorry, I missed the second part now that you said it. You asked me if this was the...
Oh, the only place that you brewed from.
Oh, and Omaha? No, we're the whole of Nebraska. And then we actually distribute into Iowa to a certain extent right now, too. We'll be going further and further east within the next few months as
you grow and get bigger.
Things are kind of up in the air right now. So
Sure. I mean, if you don't mind, I would love to go take a picture after this is all over, and we'll post that in the comment section so people can kind of see what's going on behind the scenes. And how many barrels do you guys have back there?
That we can actually produce.
Yeah.
Right now we're at, let me see.
I know, tricky question.
Yeah, we're at about 150 barrels that we could produce every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Roughly. I think last year we were slightly over 1,000 barrels that we pushed to the market and through the room. But we have a lot more room that we can expand into.
I stepped back there when I first got here, and you got some room that you can definitely up your production equipment, and that's great.
And our glycol halo, we made it so that essentially it was kind of plug and play. When we bring in a new tank, all we got to do is hook up the hose and go type of thing. So we have the ability to have just as much back there in tanks as we do right now. Even more, actually, if we upsize the tanks. So.
Nice. So those that don't know this place that well, how did you come up with this? How did you guys come up with Pint 9? How did you come up with the name?
Yeah, the name actually is a throwback to, when we first started really trying a lot of beers, there wasn't a brewery on every corner, kind of the way there is now. So we found ourselves at bottle shops all the time. So most everything we were getting at that time was continental Europe or England, somewhere over there anyway, and everything was metric system, and they came in 1 pint, 0.9 ounces.
Oh, there you go.
So we started just calling them Pint 9s, and a bunch of us would run to the bottle shop, and everybody'd buy 2, and we'd go back to somebody's house and all break them apart and split them and try them. And that name had always kind of stuck with me. When we were starting the place, it was literally the only thing we had when we started, but it fit the idea of we don't really specialize in anything. We kind of specialize in everything. We kind of do all of it.
Yeah.
So we love the German lagers and English ales, and we wanted to make sure that we weren't just straightforward American beers all the time. So we mix in a lot, and that name kind of helped us push that idea even a little bit more. The idea of starting the place really came from working at other places and realizing, I really think we could do this on our own. And this would be a great chance for me to apologize to all the people I worked for that I was total asshole to, because you can't do everything you want to do all the time, and it took opening the place to kind of figure that out, to figure out why people are doing certain things certain ways, and then trying to figure out your way around it yourself. But no, it's a monster. It's a really fun idea. It's a lot of work.
I bet.
But it's it's rewarding work. I mean, a business owner, but really I'm a brewer, you know, so I still want to touch the beer every day. I want to be around it all the time. Sitting at a desk is tough on me. So
Right.
I mean, I do it, and I've learned to do it well, but it's still not the funnest part of the day. So
The other day I was talking with Mitchell, Brickway,
yeah.
and he's been on the show quite a few times, and he said
Nice guy.
something that stuck out real good was if you don't like to clean, you can't be a brewer.
Absolutely. You know, everything is either sanitizing before you go and then a detergent to clean it and then sanitizing again. I mean, it's constant. You know, you spend 6 hours a day brewing, but you spend 2 hours cleaning. You
Sure.
know, it just works out that way.
Well, you know, and you want to be consistent with how your beer tastes, and if you aren't, then people are going to go not like your beer because they're like, hey, it's not the
Yeah.
same each time. So you have to
100%.
sterilize, you have to
Yeah.
get everything super clean, and
Consistency is the key for and if you're not clean, man, you're shooting yourself in the foot from the get-go. So
right. So we're out here out in your main lobby area. I'm noticing some barrels in the corner over here. Can you tell me what that's all about?
well, this is actually the back of our facility it doesn't have temperature control. There's no HVAC. So we have a tendency to leave our barrels, and actually it works as a great aesthetic up here too.
Yeah.
We run the barrels up to the tap room because we actually have temperature control. I think right now we have the Golden Neff, which is a 9% Belgian strong we do in white wine barrels. We have a kettle soured Brett beer, which doesn't have a name right now, in white wine barrels. And then I think the other thing over there is their 9-year Reposado tequila barrels that we put a kettle sour in that we'll add salt and lime
kettle
to.
sour, that sounds good.
It smells and tastes just like tequila at this point, so which is dangerous.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Jalopy Joyride, that's what we're drinking on right now. How did we get the name there?
Actually, I think I pilfered it from Futurama. I don't remember
What
the
a
actual.
great show that is.
I don't remember the actual context, but I think it was Professor was saying something about a jalopy ride, and I thought that'd be, well, it threw me back to when I was young, and we'd go driving through the dirt roads through all the cornfields, and we're in some jalopy of a car drinking pilsners. And I thought, well, yeah, that's kind of what this beer should be. So it kind of stuck as the name for that, and then we've moved on from it too, and we make the rye pilsner, which is Jalopy Joyride, and then we make a straight pilsner that we just call Joyride. So we kind of broke it apart and use it. Screw around with our names a lot. They're just different and weird. We don't take ourselves very seriously. We want people to see the name and have it be something that's catchy and sticks to them, but also makes you giggle a little bit too. It's kind of the best part.
Nice. You're not going at this alone. You have a partner?
Absolutely. No, Denny Heineck, he's actually in the back working right now because we brewed
he
today.
was supposed to be here
Yeah.
on the mic, but I mean, if
He'll
he
be-
gets out here, he gets out here.
He'll be here at some point.
Perfect.
He's finishing up one of the beers right now. But no, we actually have a group of partners, investors. I think there's 13 of us, and Denny and I are both owners, and we were the first 2 full-time employees, and I think we only have 1 more right now. We work thin as much as we have to, and we kind of like to keep it that way. Everybody knows what they're doing. But no, Denny's, he's a great brewer. He's been I met him at Upstream. I was lucky enough to talk him into this idea to a certain extent. You know, it's nice to get to work with a guy you get along with who's super smart and knows what he's doing, who works his ass off. You know, because it's hard to do if there's 2 of you and one of you is a slacker, you got a problem. So, but
Sure.
you know, we're both hard workers, and he's awesome at what he does. So, it's nice to get to work with him.
So, you know,
We'll ask him that question later if it's nice to work with me.
right. So you could have chosen anywhere in Omaha to build your tap room here / facility. Why this location? Why here?
To be honest with you, I looked in Omaha proper for a long time. probably almost a year while I was putting a lot of stuff together, and I never really found the place that seemed like it would be right. There was some things going in that we knew we wanted that not even necessarily want, but you have to have. A lot of power, high ceilings. We wanted a drive-in garage door. We wanted a dock door. We wanted the ability to have a patio out front. So there was a lot of things that we wanted going in, and I'd go look at places, and there was always one of the boxes just wasn't ticked every time. So, you'd have the power and the drive-in door and the dock, and the ceilings would be 10.5 feet.
You're like, oh,
So,
they can't do that.
And so I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to go outside of Omaha proper to look, because I really wanted to be in Omaha proper, but the more I look back on that, I have no idea why I really wanted that going on in the beginning. But came over here, went south of Harrison, I guess you'd say, into Sarpy County. This was the first place I looked at, and it was just perfect. The shape, the ceilings, the doors, everything, and it was brand new construction, so there was no spending $100,000 to tear crap out before you started again.
Sure.
So it
That
was
makes complete sense.
Yeah, and that was something that was just huge from the front part of it. The idea of not spending a bunch of money before you ever do anything. So.
So getting to behind the bar here, how many taps we've got on tap right now?
16.
16 on tap right now.
Yeah.
This day and age with the coronavirus and everybody staying home, you guys are offering packaged or growler fills.
Yeah, we do. We have a crowler machine, so it's a 32-ounce can. But we do also, I think right now we have 8 of our, I think there's 8 of our beers that are in 4 packs of 16 ounces. And then within the next couple of weeks, we'll have another 2 that'll come out also. So, yeah, you can get a crowler of anything you want in the room, even the things we have in the 4-pack, if you wanted that. But, yeah, with coronavirus, obviously, Sarpy County was a day or so behind Douglas County to where we were still allowed to have 10 people in the room for a day after they shut everything down.
Sure.
But that went away pretty quick, and wisely so. But, yeah, we still have the ability to do package out the door. We've kicked around the idea of delivering to people to a certain extent. And it's, to be honest with you, it hasn't been the worst possible situation yet.
Right.
We're lucky enough to have a strong core following. The canning line, if we wouldn't have purchased that, our doors would already be shut. But because we're able to work and put things out in cans, we still have the ability to actually distribute out into the market.
That's great.
They're going everywhere. The kegs are going nowhere right now. So, but no, you can come in and get whatever you want.
Or you can stay in your car. I just saw Jill. She went out and made a delivery right out to their car.
Yep.
So, I mean, you don't even have to exit your car. You can just have it be brought right out to you.
No, we do the A&W thing. We just run them out there on roller skates for you. So.
That's awesome. Explain to me these mugs here. I was kind of like, is it a someone's personal mug, or what's going on here with all these mugs that are on this wall here?
Yeah, and they kind of are. They are personal mugs. This is kind of where we started, which was at the time, the first year, we did 50 mugs that were for the year that come with a lot of benefits. So it was, I don't remember them all the time, but you get the mug, it's got its own number on it, you take it home at the end of the year, you get $1 off all your pints. At that time, you got, I think, 1 or 2 kind of parties in the back where everybody gets together and eats and hangs out, kind of a mug club party
Mug
type
club
of thing.
party, I like that.
And then it expanded a little bit. We ran out of them really quickly because we don't have a lot of room for them, so 50 wasn't enough. We upped the number. We tiered it off, and then the blue mugs are something that we added this year, and those are lifetime mugs, and it's kind of the same benefits with a couple extra perks, and you're in forever. Once you buy in, you don't have to re-up every year.
So this is a membership thing that you
Absolutely.
buy into and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Cool.
And it's been awesome. We've had such great success with it. It's helped us it's been a big part of us building a strong following of people who always want to be here because there's, that they love the beer and they're great people and we love to be around them, but they also get special perks for having the mug, and I think that's important to them, just as important as it is to have $1 off your beer. So they all know each other. You can see it on social media. They seem to all know each other. They stay in touch with each other back and forth, it seems like, and it's been a godsend. It's really cool. I don't have one up there though.
So on a typical week, how many gallons of beer are you making on a typical week? Just like this week right now.
This week right now, I mean, even still right now, we really haven't calmed down on our production, like I said, because we do have the ability to go out the back door with cans. So
I didn't mean for you to break out a calculator, but
yeah, I only work well with a calculator.
Right. Well, and gallons is the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, exactly. Gallons, around 4,500.
4,500 gallons of beer.
Is kind of what we make in a week. That's not necessarily what we sell every week or what goes through the front or what goes out the back, but on any given week, we make around probably 4,000 gallons to 5,000 gallons in the back, which is nothing to sneeze at, considering there's only two of us.
Well, don't sneeze in the back, please.
Yeah, and if you do,
that's our beer.
And don't touch your face. But it's we both work really hard to make sure we keep up with what we're doing, and we try to be ahead on most things. So
yeah.
The first step to being disappointed in yourself is to get behind in something like this, to where people are wanting something that you could have supplied to them that they can't have because you just put it off for a day or didn't get it done. So we really try to make sure we're ahead on things the same way we've been trying to make sure we're ahead on cans right now. We've been packaging a lot more than we usually do.
Absolutely.
Just to make sure we're kind of ahead on it when things happen. So, and like I said, obviously right now we don't know anything about anything. We're kind of in the wind like everybody else is. We're just lucky enough to be able to keep producing beer because we have the canning line and the ability to do so. If they shut us down, it's more of a can we convince somebody that we are, what's the word I'm looking for? One of the companies that gets to stay open afterwards.
Right. Speaking of producing beer, on to our next one. What have we got here?
It's a German Bock. It's a very traditional lager. It's a dark and malty, low IBUs, so not very bitter. It's got kind of a light chocolate toffee notes.
Okay. We're sitting at 6.3 on this one, IBU of 15.
Absolutely, and this is probably one of my favorite beers on right now. But we have a tendency to make traditional beers very traditional, and this one's right there.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh, it's not too dark,
Mm-mm.
even though dark's in the name, German dark lager. It's light. What am I getting there? What is that taste I'm getting there?
It's almost like a chocolate and dark fruit.
Yeah.
It kind of has like a
not too fruity though.
No, like plummy, like a kind
there
of
you go.
Or a pruny almost note. But it's not heavy. It's very light and crisp and kind of washes away. But it definitely has a good dose of flavor. You've got something good in your hand. So.
Nice. I like this. This
Me too,
is
a lot.
great. You guys make great beer, and
Thank you.
I was really happy to see when I was at the grocery store that you guys are actually delivering, and so people can't get out this way all the time. You can go to your local Hy-Vee.
Yeah.
You can go to even the gas stations have it now, which
Absolutely.
is great that you guys are able to fill the shelves with your guys' beer.
Yeah, and I never remember who all has it until I run into it, but I know that all the Hy-Vees have it all the time. I think Baker's has it now. Good. She's not out here. She'd kill me.
Well, and you can find it also at,
I've seen it at Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
They have it. I think Come and Go is one of the ones that over the last month or so has picked it up. So it's starting to be in a lot of places, to where when we first started, we were kind of concentrating on certain areas, but now it's starting to filter into a lot of different areas. and we've actually had really good luck with it. You never really, I mean, you never know what people think of your beer till you open the door.
Right.
Then they come in, and then you kind of have a small idea what those people think of your beer, but you still don't really know what everybody thinks of your beer in a large geographical area, whether it's Omaha or the whole of Nebraska. You never really know, and you can see it in the data who likes what and where. But we've had really good across-the-board numbers with the flagship brands that we put out in the seasonals we release also. So
Speaking of seasonals, what do you guys have out right now that's seasonal?
The seasonal that's out in the market right now is Frank Sinatra. It's a coffee.
Frank Sinatra.
See, we love the names, but it's a coffee stout, and we use Sumatran coffee with it. So, and it's definitely kind of dark chocolate and espresso noted. It's completely different than the coffee beer we have all the time, the Oso Cafe. But when we started putting Oso Cafe together, we strictly tried to stay away from the idea of it being a stout and very espresso noted. So
Sure.
we kind of, it's kind of lighter hazelnut, American brown, and then next coffee beer was like, yeah, let's do that thing we tried not to do the first time. So let's darken it up and make it big overblown coffee espresso notes. So, but that's the one in the market right now is a seasonal. Coming up in the next, probably like 3 weeks will be a Belgian wit out in the market. So it's going to be about that time anyway.
It's going to be about that time. Yeah. What were some of the trials, tribulations of starting this up and creating Pint 9? What did you guys run into that were like, oh my gosh, this is the biggest hurdle that I didn't realize is going to happen?
Yeah, all of it's daunting, to be honest with you. When you have so much money put into an idea, and you make a product that is, the most highly regulated product in the country to a certain extent, minus maybe tobacco or something, there's a lot of, I think we'd put so much money and done so much work in this place before we knew if we would actually be allowed to brew. You have to apply for your brewer's license and wait for a long period of time to make sure, and jump through a lot of hoops along the way to make sure that you actually get that license. And you do all the work you would before without having the license. You just do it. But you never truly know until that license comes in. You always think you're going to get it, but that was difficult for me, was the idea of going, man, we seem to be doing an awful lot of work and alleviating a lot of dollar signs out of the account to not know if we can do this or not. That, and for me, it's about people. I mean, that's really what the business is really about. It's about people coming in, people knowing who we are.
It's also about good beer.
Yeah, but they have.
But yes, people.
We have to do that first.
If you don't have the people, then you can't make great beer.
So we never know what they're truly going to think about our product until, like I said, they come in and they try it or they buy it, and we hear from them. And so that was always a big question mark up front. You make good beer. You have the right knowledge. You've done all your due diligence to make things happen, and then it could just be that, well, shit, I like my beer and nobody else thinks it's good at all.
So I used to work for I didn't work for Ramada. I was doing their AV with inside of Ramada off of 72nd there.
Gotcha.
And we had done this bodybuilding show, and Jack Tatone, he's in charge of these big events, and a good friend of mine keeps hiring me as one of their DJs, which is kind of cool. But he invited me up. He's like, hey, come up to the lobby bar, and I'll buy you a drink and all that stuff. And usually in a hotel lobby bar, you just go, oh man, cool, I'll take either Bud Light or Busch Light. Or what are you doing there?
Yeah.
But they actually have your Oso Cafe and your I think your IPA as well on tap, and I was pleasantly surprised to actually have decent beer at a hotel.
Yeah, and we've run across that quite a bit recently. Like a few places downtown, a few out west. I think their idea of, like you said, you're used to walking into a place and, okay.
Yeah, great. What do you got in bottle for IPA or something?
Or if I'm going to get something nice on draft, it's not going to be truly nice,
right?
For what you're looking for.
What's the darkest thing you got?
Yeah, it's usually, or even like Stella is going to be better than most of what you're going to get, which you see a lot of places. But no, we've seen it a lot. It comes down to people have liked the product and they contact us and ask, you know, we got 2 handles we want to use with you guys. So what would you think of this and this? And we tell them, yeah, this, or you may want to try this with a certain beer. But it's starting to be one of those things where we see it in a lot of places now that we're happy to see it everywhere. But we're starting to see it in a lot of places that when we go there, we're like, wow, man, this is really nice that they had put this on for us. You know, with a place that runs so many people, you know, hotels, bars are just incredible. So many people from out of town see it. So many people from in town see it.
Sure.
So it's one of those things where it's, man, I'm happy that they take 1 beer, let alone 2. And I'd be happy if they were a dive bar that nobody goes to, let alone a hotel where people from out of town see it all the time. So,
Right.
But it's fun to see where things are when you go out. We don't get to leave they don't let us leave the brewery very often, but
Keep you on a short leash.
yeah, when we do and we get to go somewhere, and we're always surprised at where it can be and where it fits in well too. Is one of those things that sometimes somebody puts it on, you go, oh, we're not going to see that in a month. When they get through that keg, they're going to kill it, and then they keep it on for 8 months or a year, and you're like, wow, this is incredible. You know?
So speaking of something like that you know, you kind of shrug your shoulders at, have you guys had any epic fail beers? Like you've created something and you went, oh, that didn't work out.
Yeah, well, I use this a lot, but there are 2 types of brewers: those who have dumped beer and those who will. And we definitely fall into that category. A lot more early on, even before Pint 9, really. But we've dumped a couple beers here, don't get me wrong. But definitely along the way, I've dumped some beers. We dump a lot less now, but we're pretty familiar with the system that we purchased, and we know our recipes backwards and forwards now.
Sure.
We don't even, to be honest with you, we don't even pilot a whole lot anymore. We know kind of what it's going to be, and if it's a one-off beer, it doesn't have to be exactly right. You know, most people aren't going to, if you're 98% of what you wanted, most people aren't going to pick up on the 2 that's not there. And then we just make those adjustments on the fly the next time real quickly. But no, we've dumped beer. We do it a lot. We're lucky enough that a lot of the beers we dump are very experimental, and they're very small volume.
Sure.
So they're 1 barrel instead of 30 barrels.
You're making a small batch.
Yeah, just to really,
You know, hey, did this work out?
Screw with something a lot.
Sure,
you know,
sure.
So, and we do that occasionally, and sometimes it's like the coolest thing in the world, and sometimes it's like, man, this is barely even drinkable. So,
I just heard you mention before Pint 9, and you kind of briefly touched about that, but you were brewing out of your garage, and you were brewing other places. Expand on that.
yeah, well, no, I worked at Empyrean in Lincoln for like, well, I think it was almost 3 years to the day, as I wanted to go somewhere.
Luna Sea. That's one of
Yeah.
my favorites.
Yep, I've brewed many batches of that. But it was one of those things where I really wanted production level experience, and in town at that time there wasn't a lot of production facilities. But obviously Empyrean's been around for, you know, I think they're the oldest craft brewery in Nebraska
Yeah.
at this point.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, they've been around for almost 30 years, I think.
Yeah.
So, and the guys there are great, and I met a lot of really good friends. You know, Rich Chapin is an incredible brewmaster, and Jim Engelbart, who is essentially production manager there, is an incredible person. Brendan McGinn was one of the brewers there when I was working there. He now works for Zipline. So I made a lot of friends, met a lot of people who I still keep in contact with, and who, whether they're there or not, we all kind of still, when we see each other at festivals, it's still kind of a hurry up and huddle situation, the way it always was. And I mean, Josh and Tim still work there, people we'd worked with a lot when, you know, a number of years ago now, and they're, you know, brewing better beer all the time, every day, which is just incredible to have a company who's been around for 25, 30 years continue to grow and make great beer just over the top every time. And it comes down to the way that the organization is set up and how they work. You know? And they know what they're doing. So it was really nice to be able to work for a place like that. with a lot of experience and making good beers and pushing them all over the region. But working at Empyrean was awesome. Working at Upstream was incredible too, just because it was the complete opposite.
Which
It was-
Upstream were you at?
I actually started at the West Upstream, and then when I came back, I worked at the downtown one, which is where I'd met Denny at. So when I was working out west, they were they were hiring an assistant brewer for me to work with while I was there, and it was his name is Dallas Archer. And then when I came back 3 years
That's
later,
a heck of a name, Dallas Archer.
and now he runs the Upstream downtown. So
Cool.
I kind of had a foot in the door for a job when I came back, and then it only took him a year to fire me though, and then we started this place. So.
And now you're here. Speaking of now we're here, I think Jill might have to help us out, and we might need to do one more beer possibly. But that's your call, Jim. What are we doing here?
We'd recently just put together, right before everything started with the coronavirus, we had put together an idea that was, it was an English yeast strain that we had, and we wanted to use it for an all mosaic beer. And so this is essentially an IPA that's all mosaic with a slightly English yeast strain. It's not very over the top, and it's not a hazy IPA. It's not a New England or anything, but it's essentially it's an English IPA with a bunch of mosaic in it, and it's really not what I expected, to be honest with you, but it's had such good reception from people that it's something I would definitely like to keep around.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And this was the Gimme Some Mo?
It is. Perfect.
Oh, baby. That's right up my alley right there.
Yeah.
That's nice. That is the mosaic is very forward on that. Yeah.
It drinks really light. It's 6.7.
I might have to take a growler of this
Yeah,
one.
feel free. That's why it's here.
Yeah.
But it drinks really light. Like I said, it's more of I guess it's an English IPA to a certain extent, but it's kind of like an American standard IPA. Not very hazy, not very juicy, but definitely mosaic over the top.
This is
you know.
great. This is right up my alley.
Yeah, I enjoy that beer too, but I can only have like one of them.
6.7 on the ABV, and the IBU is 30 on that. Your guys' prices are fairly moderate. I mean, not anything over terribly priced. I think your highest one is $16, but the majority of them are around $10 to take crowlers home.
Yeah, absolutely. The only reason we push the price up is because of the price it costs us to make it.
Absolutely.
And that's the only reason we
absolutely.
ever do.
And
then we
16
still
for
try
that
to-
is great.
Yeah,
it's fine.
some sort of a barrel-aged imperial stouts. Those are a little bit different.
I guess I
The
could
higher they get,
Zoom in on the menu and let everybody kind of
Yeah.
see what's going on there.
the higher they get for alcohol, the more expensive they are, and the more hops, that changes it too. But we try to keep it as reasonable as possible, and like I said, with the ideas of the mug clubs, and we do a lot of I can't remember what they're called now, but they're I'm gonna get yelled at again.
It's all right.
But they're like bar packs. So you can come in, and this month you get $2 off a crowler, or next month you get $2 off your 4-pack sample type of thing.
And this
So-
is all part of your loyalty program.
yeah,
is what you're saying.
and we do that, and we do it with other people too. So we try to keep them at a good spot anyway, but we do so many different promotions that there's always a way to get a discount out of us anyway. So the last thing I want is somebody to come in and not be able to try the beers they wanted to try because they simply just couldn't afford to. It
Sure.
doesn't make any sense. So we try to, we don't charge people for samples. If they don't know what it is, they want to try it. We don't try to gouge you for prices. We want to keep it at a place where everybody's real happy. We want people to, that's why the room's set up this way, more of a new wave American beer hall where we got everybody sitting together. So we want people to communicate and hang out and have fun. Well, not right now.
Well,
We don't.
once they lift the ban,
But under normal circumstances, we want that.
absolutely.
So it's one of those things where we want people to stay around. So
It kind of reminds me of like a German ale house or whatnot. Big long tables, lots
absolutely,
of chairs. It's
yep.
great.
And we've done the same thing on the patio. We ordered a bunch of 12-foot picnic tables that are on their way, even though we can't use them right now.
Now, you said at the beginning of the show, now that we have the patio, is this something new?
The patio was about half the size that it is now.
Gotcha.
Up until right before winter really hit, and then we had it expanded. I think we can do about 62 people in the room is what our capacity is. We have 65 on the patio. So we needed it, to be honest with you. There's on weekends and Thursday through Sunday, it gets a little rough in here to where you need
Sure,
a little bit
you need
more
a
space.
more room.
And if we can take advantage of the outdoor area for we live in Nebraska, maybe 6 months
Yeah.
out of the year. So
And the way you guys have your patio situated, I would say by 5 o'clock you're not having sun in your eyes, and it's
yeah, we're
not
facing,
blinded by the light.
Yeah, we face north, so you rarely catch sun, to be honest with you. It stays dark out. I mean, there's part of the patio because we have an overhang that you can sit out there in the rain and you don't get wet.
Nice.
So it's really cool out there. It's a different, because it faces north, it's really different. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with the patio this year, because it's the first chance we've had to see it work with its double capacity. So it'll be fun.
Nice. So all the beers that are up here on the board, and it might not even be up here on the board, what is your most favorite beer to brew?
Oh, that's a tough one. I enjoy Cloud Jumper in general. I love to brew it. It brews well. It's one of those beers that just kind of does what you want it to do.
Yeah.
Oso's kind of that way also.
Oso Cafe.
It'll brew right. It'll package right. It'll carb perfectly. It'll keg that way. But Cloud Jumper is fun because of the hops. And for me, even though it's a New England style like pale ale, it's a hoppier, juicier pale ale. It drinks lagery with a hop note for me. So it's kind of my go-to anyway. Like if I'm going to have one beer and be done, that seems to be it. But right now we'll be releasing another flagship beer here pretty quick called False Idol, which is a New England style IPA.
False Idol.
And
these names, these are great.
So that one's really fun to brew because of everything that's in it and how it's actually made. So we've been kind of tailoring the idea for that from a production level, and it's fun to brew, it's hard to brew, and I think the further we get along, we're so used to the repetition of the idea of brewing that it's important to keep mixing things in and changing ideas. So that one's really fun right now. I like the ones that'll make me sweat, make me do the work. So, and some of them don't. Some of them are kind of clock in, clock out beers. But that one and Cloud Jumper are fun to do. So.
Speaking of making us sweat, last Saturday we did a podcast. And we kind of tried to do a Hot Ones challenge. I don't know if you've seen that on YouTube.
That sounds dangerous.
So we talked about the coronavirus, and we increasingly got hotter and hotter hot sauces. And if you were in for a good laugh, go about an hour and a half into that episode when we actually reach the bomb. It's called Beyond Insanity, and we lose ourselves for 15 minutes. Like we're just like trying to
Yeah.
like maybe some more milk, like yogurt that helps. No, it didn't.
At that point, nothing helps.
It was ridiculously funny. My wife and I were just watching that the other day, and I've seen it 3 times, and I crack up every single time.
Oh, I love the hot sauces, man, and peppers, but
Yeah,
I
when you
don't
start
wanna
getting
be-
up to the
Yeah.
100,000 level, Scoville level, just don't go there.
yeah, I don't want to be reminded the next day how hot it was either. So, it's bad enough the first time. So,
Speaking of like unique stuff, like hot sauces and stuff like that, what's your most unique beer that you've tried? Have you made a beer with jam or something like that?
no, we occasionally do the sours. Those are fun. The tequila barrel kettle sour is really different. Like I said, it's a 9-year Reposado barrel. So I mean, it's weathered. You can look at it. You can tell it was put through hell. But they give off this great tequila note and just that sour tartness underneath it. That beer is really cool. I really enjoy that one. A lot of the kettle sours are really fun because we just crush them with fresh fruit. I think we did 1 pound per gallon on the blueberry sour that we did, and it just, they look so pretty. They look like fruit juice, and they drink like they're not non-alcoholic, but they obviously put you on your butt if you don't watch it.
Sure.
I don't know if we've done anything that's been over the kind of necessarily weird that way. The blackberry fudge is kind of that way. It's a bigger, creamier stout that we put way too many blackberries in, and we use maple syrup in it, so it kind of has a sweeter note.
What one was that?
The blackberry fudge.
I'm gonna have to do a sample of that before I take off.
Yeah, and we actually have that in 4-packs too.
Yeah.
It's fun, but I still think the best beers are the ones that taste like beer.
Right.
It's really fun to make all these beers and do all these weird things and use different hops, and it's not only fun, it's important for what we do and what we are and how I'll drink that Pilsner all day long.
Yeah,
Or I'll drink
I was
the
having a
all day.
beer the other day, and I think it was something French toast or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I tried it, and I went, wow, nice job. They kind of did it. This does kind of taste like French toast. I don't know if I could do a 4-pack, though.
No.
Like I could do 1 or 2, but like at some point it's too sweet, or you've had just too much blueberries,
Exactly.
You don't want to go down that route.
They're always good for one, but I grew up kind of more sessionable. So I want 6 of the same one sometimes. So I want it to be beer.
Yeah.
I love French toast, but I'd rather have a beer.
But I'd rather have beer, yeah. Right. Well, let me think here. We talked about the brewery, talked about your location. Do you guys have anything exciting coming up once this coronavirus is done? I know that from time to time you guys have taco trucks out here, and I think that's maybe more Cross Train that's doing that, but I don't know if you guys kind of tailor with each other.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we work together on, we do food trucks all the time. So if we order the food truck on Friday, they get it on Saturday, we park it in the middle and we share it. And so we do that a lot. We always do at least 1 event or 2 events with them every year. So our Oktoberfest is always together. We always do that in the parking lot, which is nice. I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of cool shit that's going to happen.
Right.
But right now, everything's been postponed so much that it's hard to...
Well, knock on wood, he came out yesterday and Trump said Easter. He wants us all wrapped up by Easter. So knock on wood, hopefully that happens.
I hope he knows how to fix this.
I know, I totally agree. With that said, let's kind of dive into the coronavirus and all that stuff. How has it affected you guys? I mean, granted, you can't have this space open to more than, it's more just takeout, right?
Absolutely. At this point, it's the door only opens if you're coming in to buy something and then leave immediately. There is no sitting around. I still think we try to enforce the idea of still only 10 people in the room.
Right.
Even though
you're making a small exception for the show. Thank you so much.
Well, that's an easier get.
Right.
But we still try to keep it as minimal as possible, and people will police themselves as much as anybody will. So
Absolutely.
They walk in the door and they'll separate out if they know there's a line. They're smart enough to understand that. Nobody wants to take anything home. But yeah, everything is out the front door right now. All the 4-packs, all the crowlers. We still do kegs out the front door. Right now, it's just...
I can get a cake from you guys.
Oh, 100%.
That's great.
Anything we got if you give us 2 days.
Yeah.
So then, and it's one of those things where we have a lot of keg customers anyway. A lot of people who do have draft at their house. But we've seen a few more people come around. Now that they realize, I don't even want to walk through the grocery store, some people. So I'd rather go somewhere and get a keg. And
So now you've piqued my interest a little bit. What would a normal, let's just not full keg, like not the big barrel, but
like
a good pony
5
keg.
gallons,
Yeah,
yeah.
the 5 gallon. What would that run?
They all range. I would have to look. I think the cheapest are around 50, and then they go up from there, obviously. So, and some of them are outrageously priced, like the blackberry fudge, because there's so much
Well, of
crap in
course,
it.
yeah.
Cocoa nibs and blackberry and maple syrup and all this crap. So those are higher price, obviously. But the standard ones, actually Jill may know better than I would. She probably sells more than I do. But I think,
I
think
don't
they
know.
prob-
I'm going to look at the computer.
I think they kind of start in that range, that 50, and then they move up towards the 75.
Sure. So it-
and then there's obviously a keg deposit for the actual keg, but you always get that back anyway.
When you get a keg here, like let's just say I don't have the necessary means to have a tap handle at the house enough, would you provide any equipment that would, the pump keg or anything like that?
We supply absolutely nothing except beer.
Okay, perfect.
So we can.
Good to know.
Yeah, we guide people to where they can actually pick those things up. There's a few of the Hy-Vees actually have pumps and taps and stuff like that.
Sure, and you want a barrel and ice, or if you
And,
don't have a fridge.
You
yeah.
probably got a bucket in your garage.
Right.
And you can get ice anywhere. But the pumps and the taps are the big thing, and I know Cornhusker Beverage has them, and a few of the Hy-Vees, and there's a liquor store in Elkhorn, I believe it's called Big Dog, that everybody you can go get them from there. But we supply nothing except the keg. So
Okay, yeah.
we kept it as easy as possible.
Why not?
Minimal transaction.
Here you go. Thanks
here's,
a lot.
Here's your beer. But no, the front room changed, obviously, but and it's still too early for us to figure out if the money really changed, if how much money we make in the room is any different now than it was before. Because
Right.
it's really only been
Because you're
week.
still selling in stores, and people
Yeah.
can still come in and get growlers. But yeah, the side of people coming in and just miranding about, hanging out and ordering from your bar, you're missing that. But it's great that there's some breweries out there that aren't in stores.
And they don't have the option. And that's what I was saying is
Yeah.
that the idea of us actually purchasing the canning line was, in hindsight, it was a fabulous idea, especially for the timing of it. There are a lot of people who unfortunately don't have that option.
Yeah.
And those are the types of places that right now they lay off their employees, they shut their doors. So
yeah, which is unfortunate.
yeah, so and it is, and there's a lot of people out there right now that are trying to do things that will help these employees along the way, and it's still early on a couple of those things too, but I can see it coming down the pipeline. For us, like I said, we're lucky that we had the canning line, and we're lucky that we're not a very large organization when it comes to manpower anyway. So Denny and I are going to continue to do what we can in the back, because if we brew one day, can the next day, or brew 1 day a week and can 4 days a week, we still get it to the market.
Speaking of keg, here comes one right out the door now.
There you go.
Bada bing, bada boom.
But it's we're really lucky at this.
It's
point.
because of the show, and
It
it's
is.
because we talked about. No, probably not.
But no, it's one of those things that we're very lucky to have the canning line and have a very good support group around us.
Yeah.
They continue to come in. I mean, they want to hang out and talk, and they want to see their friends. But right now, getting a 4-pack and going home is good enough.
What? So you guys have, of course, 16 taps here, but you can't get 16 in your cans. You kind of have a limited supply of what you're actually putting out there to the general public going to the grocery store to buy your
Yeah,
stuff.
actually, right. Well, when we release this new flagship, the False Idol, we'll have 5 flagships and then a seasonal that go out all the time. The seasonal will change every quarter, so at any given time, we have 5 beers in the market at Hy-Vees or the gas stations, Buc-ee's, wherever. But in-house, we still run smaller case counts of a couple of different beers that are standard, like Rice. We still do that. Every month we release a one-off beer that's only through the tap room. So at any given time, we have 8 or 10 products that are actually in the cans, but you only see 5 of them in the market. You have to come here to get the rest.
Sure.
So, and that kind of, it helps make us a destination, but it also puts you in the know that, they only put 20 cases of this out and it's going to be gone. So if I want it, I got to follow them. I got to go there. I got to get my friends, type of thing. So
Yeah.
we look at it from a lot of different angles, and that seems to be the best way for us to move forward, is to continue to push things into the tap room that people aren't expecting. It draws them in, but then it also has them look in the market for us too. When they're not around the tap room, they'll still go to Hy-Vee and pick up a couple of 4-packs. So
Well, that's great. I'm trying to think of what's next, but let's kind of wrap the show up here, and
Sure.
we'll say, is there anything you want to let the general public know about what's coming down the pipeline, what you guys are in store for next, what your next beers are, things of that nature.
No, I think, like I said, I think the next beers are going to be the False Idol, which is a New England
Yep.
IPA. We're going to do the Who's Garden wit beer. We'll be out there. But more
And
than
look for that win a couple months from now.
It'd probably be about a month from now.
Okay.
And then we always will run special things through the tap room even right now, things that you won't see anywhere else. I think the next one is Al Pastor, which is smoked beer with pineapple. So a lot of things that are different kind of float through the tap room in 4-packs. If I was going to say anything right now, I would say continue to support your local businesses.
Absolutely.
You know, these places, unfortunately, something like this it could remove a large percentage of companies, you know, depending on what their situation is, you know, whether that's owning a building, having a loan, whatever their situation happens to be. It could remove a large percentage of the people that you enjoy going out and getting products from. So continue to do that if you can. You know, I love seeing people go to craft breweries still, and it doesn't have to be ours.
Right.
You know, I love it when somebody's going into Nebraska Brewing Company when I'm driving home. I drive by there every day, and when I see that, it just makes me proud of the family that we all have as craft brewers, because we really are more of a brotherhood than we are a competitive organization. I mean, obviously we all hate each other, but, but we still, you know, we get along really well, and we help each other out as much as we can, and it makes me happy to see people going into all these places all the time, and the support that we've had in our own place. So keep going out. Well, in small groups and stay away from the people around you, but keep going out.
Keep going out. Come check this place out here in Papillion. What was the street name out here, you said?
It's 104th and Portal Road.
104th and Portal Road. Yeah, this has been a episode of Drink Talk. We're here at Pint 9. I'm Brian.
Jim Watson.
There you go.